Tom, how are you?
Doing well, Anders. Good to speak with you and everyone in the audience today.
Outstanding. Um, I've known you for quite a bit, both online and offline and in person. Now we're working together finally. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know how long you've been with VMware Broadcom and what you got going for us today.
Sure. So I have been with the VMware, Greater VMware organization for about 6 years now. I work in product marketing and I've been focused on vSAN and hyperconverged infrastructure since day one. So I've been started out with just working on launches and really expanded to cover all areas of vSAN messaging. So I'm happy to be here today and share, how vSAN can help accelerate storage modernization within VMware Cloud Foundation. Product I'm pretty passionate about since I've been covering it so long. Shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
And you
let's
you
see.
you are not yet in presentation mode. There you go. Looks
How's that?
good. Awesome.
Okay,
I'm going
great.
to go ahead and hide us all so people can get a good look at the screen, and we're ready to party.
Okay, awesome. Let's jump in. So let's get started. I'd just love to share a quick story about the challenges that so many of our customers are facing when it comes to storage and just the pace of the business. Now, this is a customer that I got to meet with last year at VMware Explore, a New Belgium brewing company. You may have heard of them. And now they are one of the largest craft brewers in the United States. They're based out of Fort Collins, Colorado, one of the original craft brewers. If you've heard of one product in their portfolio, it's probably Fat Tire Amber Ale, although they have some newer entrants into the craft beer market, such as Voodoo Ranger, that is quite popular. It's a double IPA, relatively high alcohol content, and it's very popular. It's one of the biggest double IPAs in the market today. And as a part of their success, they are continually growing their manufacturing operations. They have been opening a series of new breweries all over the country. And so as a part of their expansion, their IT department faces some significant challenges. So much of their brewing process is now automated and relies on infrastructure, both on all parts of production, from the mashing and the creating of the beer to the canning and bottling of it as well. And so what the folks in New Belgium were faced with is a relatively short runway of, hey, we just purchased this manufacturer, this brewery in North Carolina. You have one weekend to get it up and running. So on the IT side, that meant getting all of their infrastructure in place with their applications to be able to start this on a Monday, right? So they closed the deal on that Friday. They had one weekend to turn it around and get it ready on Monday. So the regular way of doing business was just not going to work for them, and they rely on these databases and what they call an IoT setup at their manufacturing site at this edge deployment to actively monitor all parts of the process. Because if you are off by a couple degrees when you're brewing, if you're off by a little bit when you're canning, you can lose an entire batch, which entails significant costs and loss of inventory. So the way that they procure and manage IT has changed significantly based on their business process. So, Anders, if we could pop up the first poll question, um, that would be great.
Sure thing. Let's get this going on here. And we're going to get this moving. And then everybody we'll take 30 seconds to a minute to get rolling.
Sure. So they had a number of storage challenges. So for you and your organization, what's the main storage headwind you face when trying to meet the needs of your business? New Belgium had a very short timeline to stand up their infrastructure. So for them, it was the ability to quickly stand up that infrastructure, the operational complexity of managing all of these different sites. So we see we've got about 21% voted. We'll give it another 30 seconds here or so. But already coming up to the top here, we've got a top two. It looks like cost, scale, reliability, and availability. Surprisingly, none is not a very popular option here. So it looks like
Almost
everyone's
like we
got,
knew that was going to happen, right?
yeah, I know. It looks like everyone's got some significant storage challenges.
Good.
It's been
Well,
up for
they're
about a minute, Anders. Can we go
all
ahead and
righty.
close this one out?
Yep. We're going to
Great.
go ahead and share these results for a second here. And then,
Excellent.
all righty. And you should be good to go.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
And so really what New Belgium is kind of a microcosm of what we're seeing across the industry. Now, this slide talks about the explosion of data, but for New Belgium, that data was, hey, I've got this new manufacturing facility. I'm about to get a bunch more data as I manufacture and can beer. But really, this IDC data that we have shows that data continues to grow at a significant pace, about 16.4% on average data growth for the average IT organization. And the overwhelming majority of that data is actually going to be located in customer managed environments. About half of it's on-prem, and a little over 25% of it is at the edge, and the remainder is in public cloud. So as an IT organization, the impact of this data growth is going to fall on your storage infrastructure, and you're going to be managing the vast majority of it. So the ways of that IT has traditionally done business. Here you can see in the slide, we've got our compute team, our storage team, our networking team. Now that's worked well for a long time. You get the performance, reliability, availability that you need at each component here. But where we continue to see challenges with this approach is really around both on the cost side and really the operational complexity side. You know, what we continually hear is that the operational challenges of at the storage layer of taking a long time to procure, all this time that it takes to provision, the amount of time to manage storage. This wouldn't work in a New Belgium type of scenario where they have to stand up something very rapidly, where they're not able to have a lot of IT folks on site to help manage this infrastructure on a day-to-day basis. And so the existing solution of this traditional three-tier architecture just really isn't working with the modern fast pace of business. And so you folks have shared that experience as well, is that the way that we're doing today just going to isn't going to help keep pace. So a lot of organizations are looking around and saying, for my next storage refresh, for my next server refresh, what are the things that I need to consider when I'm modernizing storage? And first off is really about that operational simplicity and the pace of storage operations. We need something that can quickly scale with the business, that we can put in quickly and get up and running very quickly and is easy to manage. Something that needs to be cost optimized. Cost, you guys said it. Hey, cost is a major problem, and with data growing, I need something that's lower cost. I need something that I can continually update for the future, that I'm not locked into a certain technology for 3, 5, 7 years or longer. And of course, as a absolutely necessity, it has to be high performance. It has to support these mission critical applications, but I need something that is efficient as well to help me on my cost side. And so we here at VMware, you may have heard of this VMware Cloud Foundation. This is our full stack software-defined infrastructure offering to help you move from this hardware-based silo construct to a software-based infrastructure. And there are a number of benefits to doing that. And vSAN is, of course, the storage component of our full stack software-defined infrastructure that can run anywhere. It runs in the private cloud, at the edge, with service providers as well. So it really is kind of that one software-based platform for all of your IT infrastructure. And we'll talk about in this presentation why the storage component is so important in Cloud Foundation. So real quick primer on how vSAN works. Some of you may be familiar with vSAN, but I'll just give you a quick update on, or a quick review on what vSAN is, and we'll get into some of the benefits of taking a software-defined approach to storage with Cloud Foundation. So vSAN is software defined. It runs on any standard x86 server. And what it does is it can pool all of the storage within those servers and create a shared data store. You can start as small as 2 servers in a vSAN cluster and scale all the way up to 64 nodes in one single vSAN cluster. And it uses software to deliver all of the key capabilities that you need in a enterprise grade solution: object, file, block storage, encryption, deduplication, compression, as well as the scale and performance that you need, all delivered by software. And it's managed very simply. This is one of the key reasons customers adopt a software-defined approach to begin with. Is it's very simple to manage through these per VM storage policies, where it just takes a few minutes to assign a storage policy to a VM instead of using a traditional ticket-based model where you have someone making a request for the ticket. It goes to a storage expert, and it can take days, or we've heard from very large enterprises, even weeks to get storage provision for a VM. So this really cuts through that red tape and enables a single unified team to very easily manage storage for their VMs, and of course, next generation applications, as it does fully support containers as well. So we heard you guys said, hey, cost is a real concern. And one of the key reasons why customers adopt vSAN is it lowers your total cost of ownership with storage. We've done a lot of internal data analysis here, as well as had third-party validation that we can save you a lot of money on both the CapEx side with lowering that storage hardware cost by 60% on average as compared to your traditional three-tier storage array, as well as lowering your operational expenses. There are a number of ways. Because it runs on industry standard components through standard servers and Ethernet, you can avoid the high cost of that proprietary storage networking, as well as it scales very rapidly and flexibly too. It doesn't, instead of that traditional scale up model, it's very easy to scale out. You can add just a single node at a time. It's a much lower cost, takes a lot less time to procure, and it all adds up to significant savings on the CapEx side. On the operational side, we accelerate those operations through a high degree of automation, that storage policy-based management that allows you to quickly and easily assign storage to a VM or even change it very rapidly and enable the software to implement that is a significant time savings, as well as you can lower your real estate, power, and cooling costs by switching to a server-based storage. In a recent study that we did, we reduced the amount of real estate by 50% for most customers just by switching to a server-based storage instead of traditional three-tier. And of course, the associated power and cooling costs are significant. So it really can be quite compelling. And now what our customers say, what it addresses for them, lower cost is there. Our customers also validate that, but they also say, yes, this is a high performance storage. We're getting better performance with vSAN than we did with our outgoing solution. It's highly scalable, and we can, it really is getting that simple cloud-like experience at scale, but making it very easy to add both performance and capacity in our HCI clusters. It's got native security as well, so it's hardened by it's very easy to harden by turning on that encryption for both data at rest and data in flight. Of course, we offer the consistent infrastructure and operations to create a hybrid cloud type experience. You can run vSAN at the edge in a very small form factor, all the way up to 2 petabyte scale in your data center and in the public cloud. So we really do support a wide range of deployment types and topologies with vSAN. And it's very easy to manage as well. We integrate with other components of the VCF stack to make it very easy for you to plan capacity, remediate any issues before they arise, as well as monitor performance and quickly diagnose any issues, and helps keep you in compliance. So again, customers validating all of this in recent surveys. And the analysts agree as well. Brent Ellis over at Forrester, we worked with him quite a bit last year on the Forrester Wave for Hyperconverged Infrastructure. It was published in calendar Q4, I believe it was November of last year. And we were one of the top 2 vendors far and away in the leaders quadrant. And where we really scored well is on security, on operations, compute, of course, scalability, as well as cloud. So really validating validating a lot of the points what customers are already telling us, but we're getting that validation from Brent over at Forrester as well. And you can, of course, access the full report, and I'll mention that later as one of the things you can do afterwards if you want to read up more on why Brent felt that we had a very strong hybrid cloud functionality. Now, a lot of questions we get is, okay, that's great. How does vSAN support my most mission-critical workloads? And really, the benefits of vSAN here are consistent high performance. We're able to meet those demanding SLAs for those very critical workloads, able to rapidly scale, the operational simplicity, and the ability to run an app, any app, anywhere, VMs, containers, at the edge, in the public cloud, as well as in your core data center at any scale. And so we're going to go in depth on all of these 4 benefits and why to run vSAN on your mission critical. So when it was 2022, we introduced vSAN 8 with Express Storage Architecture. And this was a fundamental re-architecting of vSAN from the ground up. It's been around about a year and a half now, go be 2 years at at Explorer. It's a very mature, robust new architecture that we've introduced, and a significant change from the original. So if you looked at and considered vSAN before August of 2022, you might be familiar with the original storage architecture. It's a traditional two-tier architecture with dedicated cache and capacity devices. And of course, it accommodated a wider array of storage devices, from spinning disks to SAS and SATA devices to NVMe. And it used disk groups to help provide performance through caching and capacity. With vSAN ESA, we have a revolutionary new architecture that is patented, built from the ground up to support the latest storage devices. It uses all NVMe-based TLC flash devices. There's no more disk groups. All devices actually contribute to both performance and capacity in a storage pool concept. And it is a single tier, so every single device now contributes to capacity, so you don't have a cache tier and a capacity tier. And there are a lot of unique express storage architecture only capabilities offered now, such as vSAN Max, which is our disaggregated functionality, high performance native snapshots, and automated policy management that make it even easier to use. So again, if you haven't looked at vSAN in a couple of years, take a look at ESA. You can do a lot more with ESA than the previous solution, and there's a lot of good reason for that. First off, with ESA, you no longer have to make these decisions around performance or efficiency. With the OSA, it was, do I need RAID 1 for performance, or do I want to get a bit more storage efficiency? With vSAN ESA, because of the way it's been built from the ground up, you get consistent high performance whether you're RAID 1, RAID 5, or RAID 6. So you can get both performance and efficiency. And it's very consistent. And we continue to develop greater efficiencies. For instance, this slide calls out the adaptive write path for maximum throughput. So depending on the I/O of the workload, vSAN can adapt to that to make sure that you get consistent performance regardless of the I/O pattern there. And one more thing on the performance is our native snapshots, up to 100 times faster than the OSA snapshots. So a lot with minimal performance impact. So much greater improvement there on snapshots, and much more efficient, much greater performance, regardless of the number of snapshots you take of a VM, very consistent performance. Now, ESA is also a lot more efficient than the outgoing solution. We've got 50% less CPU usage per I/O with ESA than OSA, so a lot more efficient. And because every single device contributes to capacity, you get up to 70% more usable capacity. So it's a lot more, you get a lot more mileage out of each storage device you buy with ESA than our traditional two-tier, because every single device contributes to capacity. We've also enhanced the consolidation ratio for ESA as well, with up to 500 VMs per host. So it's significantly, I think, 2.5x more than the previous solution. So good gains there as well. And we've also increased the efficiency of the compression. It's the LZ4 algorithm, up to 4x greater compression with ESA than OSA. Now, the storage, speaking of efficiency and resilience, now moving on to resilience, definitely need to talk about the benefits of the storage pool concept. So with OSA, if you had a device failure, the entire disk group would fail, and you'd have to rebuild everything. With ESA, if a storage device fails, you only have to rebuild that single storage device. So your time to regain your prescribed level of resiliency is significantly faster, 80 to 90% faster with this disk pool concept. So we have a much more resilient solution with ESA. Of course, we've got the snapshots there for quicker native snapshots for better resilience as well as again, bringing over a lot of the mature enterprise grade resiliency features, like that data durability, both during planned and unplanned events. So a very mature, hardened, resilient solution. And ESA is a lot easier to use. It is worth pointing out that a lot of the changes that we made on ESA are completely under the hood, that you still have the same look and feel of the original vSAN, a lot of those simple workflows and automation, but it's still very easy to manage. We've even have made it easier to manage with this auto policy management, so that vSAN looks at the number of hosts in the cluster, looks at what you're trying to do, and offers a recommended storage policy based on that. So less tinkering if you don't want to with vSAN, with this vSAN Express Storage architecture. Now we've done a lot of testing with vSAN ESA, and we've tested a wide variety of workloads. And what we're finding is that it really is much faster than the OSA because of everything that I've just shared with you, up to 240% faster for video surveillance, 80% faster for Kafka, 50% faster than the outgoing solution for those healthcare databases, those mission critical OLTP workloads, and even 15% faster for NoSQL databases. So at the application level, this is using identical hardware, just swapping out OSA to ESA. We're seeing significant performance gains. And also we've had our partners at Intel, because we asked them, hey, what is this going to look like for a customer that's refreshing a server with, say, vSAN OSA? What is that going to look like with ESA? And so they did some testing for us. If you look at the difference between OSA and a first generation Intel Xeon processor and the latest fourth gen processor, you can see here they tested a 4-node cluster, so it's the exact same setup, obviously different CPUs and different vSAN software. But you can see for this 4-node vSAN cluster, the difference. You can see the absolute IOPS performance, and you can see the different block sizes, the different percent read and write, as well as how much is random and how much is sequential. So you can see that they tested a variety of different scenarios here, and anywhere from 7 to 10x performance improvement just from a server refresh and moving from the OSA to the ESA. So I think the bottom line here is vSAN ESA really is that highly performant platform that can run any mission critical workload that you are looking for. Now, there's a lot of performance packed into ESA, but you don't have to start with a very large ESA deployment. We have a number of different server profiles, what we call ready nodes, which are jointly certified servers between VMware and the server OEM to make sure that they can run vSAN. And so you can start really small with just 3.2 terabytes of capacity in the AF0 ready node profile and 16 cores. Now, of course, we go much greater than that. You can see we're at 60 terabytes 60 terabytes for some of these larger configurations. For the HD, it's 100 terabytes per node. So we really can address a wide variety of use cases, a wide variety of scales. So it's very easy to scale out vSAN from these very small amounts, these very large to these very large mission critical workloads with ESA. So before we talked about New Belgium and talked about some of their challenges, here's what their solution was. So they had to get their brewery up in a weekend. So what they did is they came in with a 4-node vSAN cluster, got all of their databases up and running, connected all of their sensors to their infrastructure, and they were able to start brewing on that Monday. And they put all of those databases running on vSAN ESA, and what they saw was significant performance gains. To quote Adam here, there's not a single use case where we can't put it on vSAN, and they're actually looking at rolling out ESA to the rest of their breweries as well. So highly successful, very easy to get set up and running. So that's performance. Now, the other thing that a lot of folks talked about was scale, is that they had challenges scaling their storage. Now, vSAN offers you a number of ways that you can scale your infrastructure. So the traditional HCI model is scaling compute and storage in tandem in a very linear fashion. And because we have the wide variety of ready node sizes, you can start small and you can scale up. Now, vSAN Max, this is a new way. This is something we introduced late last year. I think it was December. It's really about expanding the flexibility and the scalability of the solution that helps you granularly match your compute and storage resources to your needs. This is really ideal for those workloads that are inherently nonlinear, that have a large amount of storage resources and relatively few compute, or vice versa. Or if you want to create a large centralized pool of storage for a wide variety of workloads, a vSAN Max cluster in a disaggregated concept could be an ideal solution for you. But what you essentially have with this disaggregation is you have these storage nodes. You can start as few as 4 with vSAN Max and scale up to 24 nodes. in a vSAN Max cluster, and they are essentially a large pool of storage for any vSphere host. And so you can scale up the maximum of this compute and storage together is 128 nodes. So depending on the number of vSAN Max nodes, you can easily support over 100 vSphere nodes in any number of clusters that you want with vSAN Max. Now, vSAN Max, again, it's as few as 4 nodes and can scale all the way up to 24 nodes. And vSAN Max can be extremely high capacity if you need something that is petabyte scale, but you can also start really small with as few as 75 terabytes per node. So it's just a little bit greater in size than some of the larger vSAN ESA ready nodes. Now, this is a great way to lower costs for those high storage density workloads where you have that centralized pool of storage, you cram a bunch of storage into just a few servers, and you're able to save a significant amount of money on your hardware costs by moving to vSAN Max. And of course, vSAN Max is very simple to use. It's the same tools that you use to manage the rest of your VMware environment with vCenter and the vSphere UI as well as with SDDC Manager in Cloud Foundation. Now, again, just to highlight some of the different ready node profiles, when we launched Max, we talked a lot about some of the maximum scale that you can get. We can scale to up to 8.6 petabytes in a vSAN Max cluster. You can also start really small, as few as 4 nodes and 75 terabytes per node. So really, depending on what you want to do with vSAN, we offer a way to help you match the compute and storage capacities that you need, either through traditional HCI, through disaggregated, scale large, start small. Really, we offer you the scale and flexibility that you need with that high performance storage. Now, it's also love to call out the simplicity of managing. So much of the savings that you get with vSAN is really about how easy it is to use. vSAN, and we've heard this from customers, we've heard this validated from our analyst partners. vSAN can really help shrink those storage provisioning times. You can use storage policy-based management and just let the software implement a storage policy and assign that to a VM and let the software do the work. So it's very simple, 40 to 60% less time provisioning storage, and it's managed by a unified team. So you can have one team managing both your compute and storage, so a lot faster decision making as well, and a lot less time provisioning storage. Now, we also help you reduce time to resolution. We've put a lot of time into things like health checks, giving you greater visibility into your I/O traffic as well. We have proactive health alerts, greater insights, and that's part of that is inherent in vSAN, and some of that goodness is built into Cloud Foundation as well. We get it through ARIA operations, where you can do things like compliance audits of your vSAN environment and take action to make sure that you're compliant with a variety of regulations. It can pool all those health alerts so you can quickly take action before issues arise. And we also help simplify lifecycle management. A lot of the work that the team has done is make it very easy to manage day 2 operations with vSAN. With innovations like vSphere Lifecycle Manager that we introduced, you can essentially have a golden image that you provide to VLCM, and it manages the updates for both the hardware and the software and uses a desired state model to address any sort of compliance drift with that. So it's very easy to use, and VCF builds on that as well. It greatly enhances the speed at which you can deploy, manage, and update your vSAN environment within VCF as well. Just to give a very simple example of how easy this is, it's very easy with what we call storage policy-based management to create and assign a storage policy for a VM. In vCenter, you can go in and you simply define that level of resilience that you want to create that storage policy. Say, I want is it going to be a stretch cluster? Is it going to be a standard HCI cluster? What are the failures to tolerate? And you can customize the other settings as well. Simply name it. In this example here, it's database applications. And then once you've done that, you can go into vCenter. You simply highlight the VMs, the VMDKs, or a group of VMs that you want to apply it to. Click Edit the VM Storage Policy and let the software take care of the rest, and you can view the results. So that's how easy it is to create and assign a storage policy. So much faster, much more efficient operations. And that's where over the lifetime of vSAN versus a traditional three-tier storage array, this makes a significant difference in the total cost of ownership of this as a storage solution. And of course, vSAN can power any application as well. We offer native block and file services, and then we have object interfaces with our partners. Every single logo you see here on this slide, we have reference architectures for. We have a variety of capabilities that support cloud native applications that make it easier for the developer to get the infrastructure they need. They can use it. They can access their infrastructure through their native Kubernetes commands. And then on the admin side, we make it really easy to monitor and manage those containers. They're first-class DIS and vSAN, so they can get the same storage policies that a traditional VM can. It's very easy to monitor them and troubleshoot. So yeah, we do a really good job, I think, of supporting both the VMs and the containers and providing everything you need data services wise to support all of these workloads. Now, just backing up a little bit, so we've talked a lot about vSAN. So there are a number of storage options that you have with VCF. Now, we think vSAN is the premier and best way to consume storage with Cloud Foundation because you get to use storage policy-based management. You can also use that with a vVols-enabled array as well, so you can get some of the benefits of ease of management through vSAN and vVols. Now, automated deployments you also get, you can get with vSAN and vVols through SDDC Manager. But there are some things that are unique. The automated lifecycle management, patching and upgrades, make it very easy to create a stretch cluster topology, manage remote clusters with VCF, as well as create those compute-only clusters. These are unique and we think significant differentiators and why a customer would choose to run vSAN with their VCF as a modern storage solution over some of these alternatives. Now, most customers, when we talk to them about vSAN, a lot of them are pretty concerned and about, oh, so you want me to just rip and replace everything all at once? And we know that that's a very heavy lift. We would certainly never advocate. I mean, sure, if you want to, that's great. But most of our customers make an incremental approach over time. And so the vSAN benefits can also accrue as well over time, starting with simply a robo or edge deployment, where you get that low cost solution to reduce your CapEx. We have edge specific ready nodes that our OEM partners have designed so they can fit in non-traditional environments. For instance, the Lenovo SC350, the Dell VD4000 are two great examples of innovation going on in the edge sector where you can run vSAN in these environments. But you can also manage it from the center. That was one of the benefits that New Belgium mentioned as well, is that it's very easy to manage. They don't have to have a lot of IT site on staff. You can manage it from your core data center, and it's consistent. You don't have to have kind of these one-off designs for your edge sites, another storage solution for your factories or your manufacturing facilities, and a third solution at your data center. With vSAN, it's consistent across all of your environments, making it much easier to manage. And when customers have done that, typically their next step is looking at other what we call mainstream applications that they can put on vSAN as well. These could be things like small relational databases, web servers, backup workloads. Those kinds of things run really well on vSAN. You spend a lot less time managing storage, reducing your storage costs. And then being able to quickly scale out instead of having to use that scale up model with traditional storage. And finally, moving on to mission critical applications where they're getting all the benefits of the performance and the resiliency. You can disaggregate for these very large storage intense workloads up to a petabyte scale and get as great or better SLAs for your mission critical applications than your other solution. Now, how do you get vSAN? Well, as you may have heard, we've had some pricing and licensing changes here at VMware. So there are two ways you can get vSAN. It's you get it either with the VMware Cloud Foundation. You get 1 terabyte of vSAN capacity with Cloud Foundation, or it can be an add-on to your vSphere Foundation. There is some trial capacity, 100 gigabytes of trial capacity with vSphere Foundation, but if you want to create a full-fledged HCI solution, you will need to add on that capacity. vSAN is sold in 1 terabyte increments for either Cloud Foundation or vSphere Foundation. And all of the capabilities are included. If you want to deploy vSAN in a traditional HCI or vSAN and disaggregated with vSAN Max, you can do that. In the past, we've had 3 different tiers of standard, advanced, and enterprise. So that all that's gone away. You don't have to look and decide, well, for this environment, I need encryption, so I need this license, and for this one, I just need, dedupe and compression and some other things, so I don't need the enterprise license here. We've done away with all that. It's relatively simple pricing and licensing scheme for vSAN, and you can use that capacity however you want in any deployment type that you want. Standard clusters, stretch clusters, files, encryption, all of that is included with a single vSAN capacity license. So I hope I've kind of started to get you interested in vSAN. Hopefully, if you would like to learn more, you can definitely start with an HCI assessment. You can go read an analyst perspective, read the Forrester Wave for HCI, which I mentioned earlier, to get an in-depth take from Brent Ellis on the state of the market and where vSAN fits there. Of course, we still have hands-on labs, so feel free to poke around with that, get familiar with it. And if you want to, if this has been interesting, but you're not sure, you want to get to the next level of information, 2 great assets for you. One, visit TechZone. We have a great amount of, all of our reference architectures are up there, a great amount of technical content, blogs, reference architectures, solution overviews, lots of in-depth information there. But if you don't want to read and you just want to listen on your way to work, check out our podcast, Virtually Speaking, hosted by John Nicholson and Pete Fletcher. You can get it anywhere you get your podcasts, and you can learn more about vSAN there. Well, that's all I've got time. Oh, that's all of the content I have. Happy to take any
Alrighty.
questions. Anders, I don't know if anything's come down through the chat, but
Boy,
would love to address anything that's come up.
we have a lot of stuff going on in the chat. Busy, busy. We at one point in time we had over 160 people in here, so
Wow.
there's been some stuff going on. It looks like Pete has been sort of tackling a lot of the questions, and I think we can actually send those out to all of the attendees as a document. And then, did we have any more polls going on? I know we might have had some stuff locked and loaded, but
Yep. You
let's.
know, let's do it. Let's do a poll. You're right. I meant to ask it
Okay.
about halfway through, and I just got so excited to share. I just kind of blew right by it. So Anders,
You
if you
were
wouldn't mind
moving, and
popping. Yeah.
I
Yep.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, let's pop this one up, and just for fun, how much of your IT resources are deployed at the edge? Let's just get a quick survey here of the folks that are still sitting while we look through the Q&A. The questions are still coming in. Bring them in, folks. We can either have Pete and crew can take care of them in line, or we can actually answer them live. And again, we'll try to get a summary of some of the questions out one way or another. And also, just so everybody knows, these sessions are all recorded on YouTube. So we have a playlist going of all of these forward-facing VCF sessions. So hopefully we get these up in really short order. In fact, the recording of this session will be available before the end of the week, so you can socialize it out to anybody that might have missed it or go back and recap a little bit. All righty.
All right. Well, we got a good amount of answers here. It looks like about 80% of the folks here have some sort of edge environment. And of those, how much of their IT resources are deployed at the edge? Interesting results. We got the most common answer is less than 20%, but it looks like if you look at the distribution, most were around 20 to 40%. So quite a bit of edge out there, Anders. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, super good. All right.
Cool.
And these and share them out.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of edge going on, and I think we've got another one. We've still got some folks in the audience if we wanna load that one up too here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, uh, all right, there it is. How much do you expect your edge infrastructure to grow in the next 24 months? So looking out at the next 2 years, how's that edge environment going to change for you? And this is a multiple choice, no wrong answers.
Mhm.
There we go. Interesting. Tom, can you actually see this? You can see this, yes?
Yep. Yeah, I can see it. Answers are coming in fast and furious. It looks like the most common answers we got here, about 30% of the audience say flat, so between -5 and 5% growth. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other most common is growing 5 to 20%. So good growth at the edge. Um, and we've got, yeah, so on average, we looks like we're growing between 5 and 20% of the responses. We got about 15% or 15% of the audience growing more than 20. So looks like a good amount of growth at the edge there. Cool.
Super good. Yeah, that's a little surprising. I'm actually to see some of the more progressive growth um, represented there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's go back to the Q&A here and see how we're doing. Let's see, we've got one here. For VVF, we have to calculate add-on vSAN from zero. Is this requirement more than what the customer is getting with VVF?
Yeah. So with VVF, it's vSAN is trial capacity. So you get those 100 gigabytes per core. Now, that is again trial capacity. So if a customer wants to, it tries it out and likes vSAN, then what happens next is they have to procure one terabyte vSAN capacity, and the included trial capacity does not count towards the total capacity. A little confusing, I know, but that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's specifically called out as trial capacity with VVF.
Mm-hmm. And there's one here, and I don't have the answer to this one. Is a two-node version available for small business?
That's a great question. So vSAN does run in a two-node configuration. The minimum with VCF and SDDC Manager is 3 nodes. Now, in the past, we did have a vSAN Robo license, which was licensed by a number of VMs at a Robo location. We do not currently offer an Edge or Robo specific SKU, so it's just you would use vSAN either with VVF or VCF and
Mhm.
just the regular license, and then add on vSAN.
Got it. And I got another licensing one here, and I don't know how much we can talk licensing right now, but it says when licensing vSAN Max, do you have to have an ESXi core licensing along with the vSAN space for licensing each node in the storage cluster?
Yeah, it's a great question. So vSAN Max is not a separate standalone license. So every server that you have either needs a VVF or VCF license because vSAN does require ESXi to run, and then you would have to have the vSAN capacity on top of that. What we've heard from a lot of our customers, a lot of VCF customers, is that they are licensing as they license a large amount of their environment. They might have some leftover capacity. They might have use less than a terabyte per core with some of their servers, and so they can
Hmm.
apply that to the vSAN Max. So there is a way to kind of optimize the amount of licensing that you get with vSAN when they procure VCF or VVF licenses. So they may not,
Awesome.
depending on how they allocate the vSAN capacity, they may not need to buy more vSAN capacity depending on what they got.
And then can you add vSAN licensing to vSphere standard?
You cannot. It is only available with vSphere Foundation and VMware Cloud Foundation. Good
All
question.
right. That is a good question that actually answers a couple of questions of a similar flavor on here. Um,
Mhm.
Also, folks wanting to know what time it is in the U.S. right now. That's a good one. Depends on who you ask. We're on the
Yep.
West Coast right now, and
Mhm.
it's just about quarter to 12, about lunchtime.
Yep.
All right, looking in here, looks like the questions are slowing down. The YouTube link has been socialized, so folks can check out the recordings here. We'll give a couple more minutes just in case there's any late breaking breaking questions. I'm not seeing anything here. I know our live question buddies have been working overtime. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking care of that. And I'm just strolling through one more time to see if there's anything left over, and I think we're just about good. A lot of very happy folks today, a lot of excited people about the content in general. So that is fantastic. Um, Super good. I think we actually broke a record today. I'm going to have to check with Simon a little later and make sure. But I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to have you back. This was probably our most heavily attended and heavily engaged session, and you didn't even juggle. I'm not disappointed because we just got carried away talking about storage, but here we are. So we'll definitely get you back in, hopefully before the end of the year, and we can chat again. A lot of big changes coming up. I know we've got some good announcements coming out at Explore. Really looking forward to that. Any parting shots before we take off for the rest of the day?
I just wanted to say thanks for the opportunity, Anders. Thanks everyone for hanging in there and listening. I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
it. And I know people are here for vSAN. I love vSAN. Glad to hear you love vSAN, and I am excited to say we'll have plenty to share in the future.
Perfect. That sounds good to me. All righty, folks. Thank you very much to everyone, and we'll talk to you all soon. See you next week.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye bye.